and it could be both of those, yeah. I guess that's what and or implies. I'm going to fold this ace nine. I can't beat any value. I don't have a lot of equity to improve against value. And I can get bluffed on a lot of rivers, and bluffs have a lot of equity against me. But from there, it's a lot of it depends. It's a lot of it depends. You might try when you recognize the feeling. So, for example, you notice that you're jamming a pip wide, and you determine based on knowing yourself that it's impatience. Like you can't wait to get even, and or when you're losing, you just don't have the discipline to whatever. You just say to yourself, I'm feeling impatient, or I'm feeling like it's hard to discipline myself. I want to be more disciplined. I can be more disciplined even when I'm impatient. I don't mean saying this, you can say this out loud, but I would say this in my head. But and it's not so much about affirmations as it is about naming the feeling that you're experiencing, which I think, and I mean I know, can take a lot of its power away, take its hold over you away, or dissolve it a little bit. So just calling out, like, I'm feeling impatient. Can do quite a bit. But then there are mindset coaches, there are mindset courses. There's a lot you can do. And I mean, we talk about this in Beyond the Game frequently for obvious reasons. It's a big part of poker. Is and then I guess there's also just setting guardrails for yourself. So if you look back at your career in poker, whether you're a pro or not, but your time in poker, and you think to yourself, okay, well, if I were to go back and set some rule that if I had followed it in the past would have led to much better results, or I, to the best of my ability, predict would have led to much better results, what would that rule be? And it might be something like, when I'm down 5 buy-ins during a session, I always quit no matter what. Now, there will be times in your past and in your future when quitting down 5 buy-ins would have been the wrong move, in that you either got lucky and won after that, and or you were in a really good game, and or despite being down 5 buy-ins, you were still playing pretty well. This player for 7 hands has been loose. Not play this hand, but just for a call. And then I would advise you to try that rule going forward. Here I'm going to lead just because I have a hand that would be happy to take the pot down now. Can apply a lot of pressure to a weak over pair. And it's not, I mean, I could check raise, but I feel like the bets are going to come from a pretty strong range, and I'm just going to see a lot of check, check, check. I guess I check range on the ace, or close to. I mean, I might just actually check my range. But yeah, I don't know if I finished that thought, but then, yeah, try to apply that rule going forward. And now it feels like a pretty good bluffing hand. So let's go for it. It's not called. Will flew by a flush. Oh, just heroed. I mean, it's not superhero call. You have the queen of spades, but still, they call a nice hand. All right. Yeah, teachers. Yes, teachers, I think, one of the most important jobs and can benefit society. Is call back to a previous conversation, but I'm reading comments. Can contribute to society in a big way. I hate the fact that I think most teachers don't do this. Most teachers don't love the job, and the rare teacher that loves the job and is there for the love of the job is just, I mean, their world's different from the other teachers, and they're extremely, extremely important. Eric pointed out partners with an S on the end. Yeah, I noticed that as I came out of my mouth. And then I realized I have business partners, so makes sense. I was thinking, well, I don't know what I was thinking. I was just pluralizing all the words I said. Stevie says, yeah, sorry. Well, first of all, don't be sorry for the question, please. He said, I know a lot of people in poker who do a lot of great things for others. It's just a question I got from family and friends I didn't know how to answer. Nothing to be sorry for, and that's a very common question. Like the reason I said it in that way was like, oh, I have, I take issue with this question or I struggle with this question is because it is a really common question that comes up from people inside of poker and outside of poker. And so it totally makes sense that it came up here. It's almost strong enough to raise, but I think not quite. And here against pot, I think we just call. Against that, we raise. As far as how to answer your family and friends, this is not all the same thing, but I actually think the same types of lessons apply, or the same lesson applies, which is early in my career, people asked me what I did, and I said I played poker, and very often, and keep in mind this was close to 20 years ago, I think perceptions about poker players were worse than they are now. Not that they're amazing now, necessarily, but and I found myself very quickly kind of defending my career because I thought people didn't believe me that I could make a living playing poker. They kind of the average person thought, well, gamblers are delusional. If somebody thinks they're a professional gambler, they're going to lose it all back. Why don't you put all your head before you lose it all back, et cetera, et cetera. And so I would kind of very quickly launch into, I play poker, and actually, a lot of people don't think you can win at poker long term, but you can. And I started by studying a lot of books, and I have software tools that track all my play, and I do a lot of studying, and it's actually interesting. It's really fun and interesting, and over a big sample, I'm a significant winner, and I don't know, I like automatically go into defense mode, and kind of it's coming from a place of insecurity because I didn't like that people didn't believe me, or that people would doubt me. And what was interesting is that at some point I reached a level of success where I didn't care anymore, or I was just, I guess, so confident in myself as a poker player that, and so actually, now that I think about it, maybe some of that was defensiveness because I was insecure about whether or not I can make it as a poker player. But once I got really sure of myself as a poker player, my answer changed, and it changed to kind of like, yeah, I play poker for a living, and they would just say, wow, you can earn a living doing that, and I say, yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones, and I left it at that. I'm not trying to convince anybody. This would be a good bluff, kind of in theory, but I just think I get overcalled there for a whole host of reasons. And when I answer with confidence, no desire to convince them of anything, it came across a lot more confident, and people believed me despite having no logical explanation for me of how I can win. And so I think there's something to be said here for if you feel good about what you do and you don't feel you need to convince others of anything, I think it will convince others of something. And there's a little bit of you can fake it till you make it a little bit, but I think most of it is got to be real. It has to be real. Really, you not worrying so much what other people think, and you having confidence that what you're doing is fine and or good, and maybe that means that you do helpful things for the world around you, not so that other people think positively of you, but so that you think positively of yourself, and you feel good about your contribution to the world through a career and otherwise. All right, it's kind of a loose raise with ace 10 9 8, but it's not that loose. I think one position over would have been fine. And now 4 people see the flop. We are done with it. When 4 people see the flop, you just need a good hand. King 8 suited. No appeal. Ken Davis asks, how will the Big Beautiful Bill impact high stakes pros, streaming shows like HCL, etc.? Actually, that's a great point. I wasn't thinking about streaming shows. I was thinking about things like Tritons and just high roller tournaments, which I think are in quite a bit of trouble because those edges are very low. And so one thing that could happen with those is the a lot of the American pros stop playing. I think that's maybe the most likely thing. Another thing that could happen to Tritons is they could drop the rake to, which would offset the tax issues for Americans. But for shows like HCL, where the rake is not super significant and edges are big, yeah, I don't know. Some people might feel more anxious about having their play out there publicly, but others might not. I think it might not have a big effect. Is my guess. I mean, this is probably supposed to be raised. So my back and shoulders are, well, one shoulder is really unhappy with me after yesterday's streaming session. And also, just I was on vacation before this, and I slept on a pillow that was not the pillow I'd like to sleep. I'm not super particular with my pillows, but my neck got really messed up, and then it's the same like neck and shoulder that are in my mouse hand. So yesterday was rough too. So I'd actually love to just be reclining like this, but then I'm out of the shot, and I don't want to keep changing all the camera things. So we'll see. We'll see how I do. One thing to keep in mind, I keep missing it when I look over. However, there is a tournament series coming up here on Bet Rivers Poker. I'm going to try to keep an eye out for it. It's our first online series ever for multi-state, and there are 72 events with over 200,000 in guarantees. And it starts August 1st, goes through August 10th in all 4 states that we are live in: Delaware, Michigan, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. And there it is. August 1st to 10th, multi-state summer series. So if you're in one of those states or are nearby and are thinking, hey, I want to check out this site, or hey, I heard Phil's rant about giving all the rake away yesterday, I want to support a site like that, August 1st to 10th would be a great time to do so. Eduardo says, big fan of you, OG. Thank you. I appreciate it. Some advice for longtime pros struggling with discipline and being consistent with volume, health, family, social. So this is you're kind of exactly, depending on the stakes you play. If you're in mid stakes or higher, you're exactly who Beyond the Game is for. But it's a big commitment. It's not cheap, and it's a year-long commitment to this coaching program. And that's what I work with players every week, every single week of the year, through issues like that, among other things. As far as generalities, why did I lose the? It's just sometimes deciding to auto scroll. Excuse me. There it is. I think that setting goals is something that, well, how do I put this? It's very easy to set goals and then, for a couple of weeks be motivated and then forget about it. And perhaps that's what you've tried. I think there are better ways to set goals that are more kind of long-term oriented. And I think for me personally, as somebody who struggles and has struggled with kind of consistency and discipline, first of all, actually, this could be another whole rant, but yeah, I'll go on this little rant. So there are a lot of influencers who are kind of what I would just call, discipline influencers, among other things, but kind of their solution to doing the things that you should be doing is you just do it, right? If you want to get in better shape, you just work out and you just eat well. You just don't put the bad food in your mouth, and you just don't miss the gym. And they're right, but they're also wrong in that if that idea worked, then a lot of people would be doing it. It does work in theory, but there's a reason that so many people want all of these things that their actions don't show that they want, or their actions aren't voting for those wants. There's a reason for that. And the reality is, there are some people who are oriented towards uh, doing, and they can say, like, hey, I think I might want to become a runner. And the next day they're a runner. They start going running, and then every day, like 5 days a week, they run. Like maybe I shouldn't say we all, but we might all know somebody like that, or a few somebodies like that are just like, they decide to do something and they just do it, and it's not hard for them. And it's easy to be jealous of that. Most people are not that way. Most people will say, hey, I should start running. And then, 6 years later, they're still saying I should start running. Next, now I'm meaning to start running. I'm going to start running. Uh, most people are not just the automatic doers of the world. It's not that easy for them. And here I'm just going to fold because I think that'd be. And so I believe that these kind of just do it influencers are doing more harm than good, because they make people feel like you should be able to just do it. If you can't just do it, you're a failure. Using some kind of crutch in order to get it done means that you're kind of not good enough, or you are admitting weakness. Whereas I believe, why not give yourself every chance that you can to succeed at the things that are important to you? So things like accountability systems, things like a trainer that shows up at your house 5 days a week. If you want to be working out 5 days a week and you can afford the trainer, why would you forego that? And I'll speak from my own experience. In the past, I haven't done that because I felt like I felt like, come on, Phil, you're capable of this. Like, why can't you just do? You know how to work out. Like, I've had trainers in the past. I know what to do. So why do I need a trainer to come to my house? I know what to do. I just have to do it. And I've had I've had multiple years in a row where I've just done it. But lately I haven't. And so I just need to get back to just doing it. Just do it. It's easy. Just do it. And for many, it was only this last year. Like, I've had a few virtual trainers that I've worked with, but it was only this last year that I finally was like, you know what? Clearly I'm not just doing it, even though I do really want this. So I'm just going to hire a trainer to come to my house. And it's not admitting defeat. It's actually just having success, but getting help with it. And so I believe that the first problem, let's say, is saying that when people say they're struggling with discipline, which many people would raise their hand for, I'm struggling with discipline. When people say that, they usually, what comes along with that is, I wouldn't say like a deep shame, but some form of shame and some form of shoulds, that like, I should be able to do this. Like, how am I not able to do this? This should be easy. I should be able to do this. I should be doing this. I should just do this. And I think that prevents a lot of people from getting the help that they need to do the thing. Because why would I hire somebody to help me do the thing? Or why would I need an accountability buddy or a vet to do the thing that I could just do? It's so easy. I just have to do it. But the reality is, as you may know, many times you try to do it and maybe you start doing it, and then you have a trip planned, or then you have a really stressful life event happen, or you have a bad week at the tables. And so, okay, you fall off for now, you'll get back to it later, and then you're right back where you were, which is, eventually I'm going to start doing this thing. So that's just the rant. It's basically, is okay that you haven't figured out how to just do it. And it's not okay to just keep thinking that things will change for you magically. And what you need to do instead is change your environment, or in poker terms, what I like to call shift your equilibrium. You are, the environment you're in and the things that you do, the people in your life, the places in your life, things that you have in your house, you're like, if you put the exact same person with everything else, every other factor exactly the same, you have one of them in an apartment that is over a gym. You have the other one in an apartment that is over a donut shop. They're going to have different outcomes. Most people. Now, some people are, the ones that just have the perfect habits no matter what. Okay. But that may sound like a silly extreme example, but it just shows you that your environment matters. And the best way to consistently and reliably change your outcomes and your habits is to change your environment. And yes, there are other ways, of course, but I think changing your environment is the hack way. And then on top of that, you do all the things that you should be doing, or you attempt to. But I think it's foolish to ignore the environment when that is such a big piece of the puzzle. So to your question about struggling with all these things, change your environment, I guess is my short answer. Think about what's worked for you in the past and why it has worked and what felt different about it, and try to recreate that as much as you can. Or even if it hasn't worked for you in the past, think of what will. For me, a lot of I can default to pretty good habits if certain things are removed. And so, for example, in my mornings, most of my work days, my phone has an automation days, plane mode during the night, and I have an app on my computer that blocks email, blocks Slack, it blocks WhatsApp, it blocks anything that could give me a message. It blocks social media, it blocks project management tools that we use for my company. So like I cannot get a message from anybody for the first several hours of my day. Now, many people can't. You can't live that life because of their job or because these time blocks. During this time block on Tuesdays, I'm going to do this. And during this time block, I'm going to do that, and so on and so forth. And it was too rigid, and I didn't stick to it because it was too rigid. And then eventually, I found this system, which so far has been working for me. But obviously, I'll keep refining it. And yeah, I'm not getting specific about what I have to do at that time. I'm getting very specific about what I cannot do. And I'm actually I have proven to myself time and time again that if I'm able to see messages, even if I tell myself, you know what, I can see them, I'm not going to respond to them until after 10 a.m. I don't respond every time, but I certainly don't ignore them every time. And so I've proven that I can't be trusted with that. And until I can be trusted to ignore them, I need to not be able to see them. And I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of, right? So using the rants earlier, like I could sit there and be like, no, I should be able to ignore an email. I should be able to have a rule that before 10 a.m., I'm just not going to respond. And so, yeah, I have access to my email inbox, but I just won't check it. And if I do check it and I see something, I'll be like, okay, that can wait for 10. I should be able to do that. But evidence shows that I can't. Evidence shows that I can't be trusted. And so could I get there? Could I create the discipline and have the discipline to do that? Maybe, but so far I haven't. And I know that, so I don't know with any kind of certainty that I can get there. What I do know is if I can't see the email, then I'm not going to respond to it. So why not create that situation where I know the outcome is going to be better for me? And so just take that, and my advice would be to take that and apply it wherever it works for you. But like anything, a big part of the advice I give is that it's specific to you. And so I shared what works for me, and works for a lot of people like me. but it doesn't work for everybody like me, and it doesn't work for certainly everybody who's not like me. Let's 3-bet this one. It's a nice hand. Pretty bad flop on the right. I mean, I have double gut shot, but not anything very thrilling. The ace 10 on the left, I'd probably just small bet my full range here. And I'll check back the ace 9, 8, 6. I expect to check back a lot on this board. I have the second nuts here. It's pretty unlikely that I run into the nuts. I think people tend to lead hands like that. They also tend to lead a lot of sets with like Jack, Jack, or sorry, Queen, Queen, Jack, things like that. But now he's betting. His value range is going to be straights, I think. So I'm no longer feeling amazing with the second. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to call, and I'm never going to consider folding river because he could be value betting the same hand. He could potentially be value betting worse if he's making. I mean, he shouldn't. I think value bet much worse, but he could be. Okay, same hand. Arjun is asking, can you tell us the formula for how to calculate how many times the villain has to be bluffing a river node for a bluff catch to break even? It's essentially your pot odds. So if your opponent's bluffing one pot size bet into one pot size bet, you have to call one pot size bet to win two pot size bets, which is two pot size bets to your one. So 2-to-1 odds. And with 2-to-1 odds, the way that there are lots of ways you can calculate this. The way I calculate it is I look at that and I see the 2 and the 1, and I add them together equals 3, and I take the 1, the part that I'm putting in, and I make that the numerator, and the denominator is 3, so it's 1 divided by 3, which is 33.333%. That's how often I need to have the best hand in order to make the call break even, or if it's more than that, it's better. So they have to be bluffing a third of the time, or I have to beat some value. Jamon, good to see you. I'm so far behind on chat now, I don't know what you were laughing at, but I appreciate it. I think. Rare Z Rare will bet Rivers Poker with the EU at some point. Maybe one day, but it's not in the near term plans. Kevin, he says, Phil is beyond the game right for me. I played limit hold'em professionally for years, but I'm stuck at low to mid stakes at PLO. I live in Vegas. Thoughts? What stakes? I think that if you're at mid stakes, I think it's worth checking out. And check out the page and email us at team@philgalpon.com and ask questions. Or I think there's another actually new support email on there. But head to joinbtg.com and check it out. It's at least like I think anybody who's playing mid stakes or higher and taking poker seriously as a professional, part-time professional, or a serious recreational player, I think it's very worthwhile for. But it also depends if you resonated with some of the things I was ranting about earlier, because I don't talk about which hands to check raise. Some people in the community do, but it's not about which hands to check. I mean, we talk about how to study, but for the most part, it's more about kind of being a professional, managing your life and career, and your mindset and your performance and things like that. So if that's something that interests you or sounds exciting to you, then yes, it is for you. If that's something that's like, no, just give me the charts, then no, it's absolutely not for you. And maybe you can tell by the tone. I think if you're the give me the charts person, you're viewing it incorrectly. However, maybe you're at that point in your career where it is just give me the charts, and that's okay. when my master was actually somebody else who typed Galfond. It was David Oppenheim, and it auto-corrected to Falcons. And John Wayne was in the chat, and he's the only one that kept with it. Juggernaut. Hey, well, good luck on your way to becoming a winner at 1-2. Hope you make it someday. Good to see back-to-back streams. Yeah, good to be here. Good to see you once again. I've started folding. Aubrey's loosened up her play and maybe was watching my stream where I said I was going to bluff or steal every small blind. Here, it's the same angry looking avatar. It's kind of scaring me. I'll just check fold these fives. It's a little bit close. Julia says Bet River's still only legal in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Delaware, and West Virginia. Yes, that's true. Did I move to one of those states as part of my ambassadorship? No, I live in Nevada, Las Vegas, and I travel to stream sometimes. I'm in Delaware right now. Keep the questions coming, by the way. I mean, I'm still kind of far behind, but I'm making some progress. I'm catching up. You could whatever sizing here. I want a third pot. And you could pot this to try to bluff out some low flushes, but I think given the way the hand's played out, like for one bet, I'm not folding out low flushes. And I have the jack as well for additional protection against potential straight draws that would go check, check. So I'm just going to go check call. Against an unknown, I am going to lead board pairs. Sometimes against players that I know well, I like to mix in some check raises with on board pairs because I can't be super predictable. And some lower level players, they see the board pair and they just check back their nut flush and their bluffs because they think they can't rep it. But other players, keep in mind that when you check the river, your range is weakened and they will bluff more often in those spots. And so you got to know your opponent and decide whether or not it's important to be balanced against them. And I think that's an important topic that, like this particular board, some people in my shoes, when the board pairs and they check the river, they're almost always folding because they've led all of their boats. And if they don't have a boat, they have like a straight or a weak flush, and they just believe you. And they're like, oh, well, sometimes I have boats, so I can call when I have boats or raise when I have boats. And they end up not calling that river very often. ASG asked if I have any opinions on the state of revised reentries these days. Re-entries, there are two ways to look at this, and one is through the question you actually asked. The other way, which I think is perhaps a little more relevant, is looking at it practically. And the reality is that what players respond to very clearly is bigger prize pools. So the larger the guarantee, the more interested players are. And so poker operators, whether it's online or live, have no incentive that I'm aware of to stop reentries and multi-day ones and things like that, because the players, even if they think they don't want that, they certainly vote with their wallets that they want reentries because they want bigger prize pools. That's what they chase after. And so I kind of don't think it matters what I think, because it's going to keep happening unless players start voting with their wallets for something different. And in the entire history of poker, since I've known it, players do not organize to vote with their wallets for something that they don't individually want to do, at least not with any real sustained success. So because I have more questions, I'm going to move on. What do I actually? I mean, yeah, I think that if pros are rebuying more, the field becomes tougher, but that's just. I don't think it's inherently unfair. or inherently bad necessarily, but it makes the fields tougher. Correct. D, do I have an opinion on anything? I think I've shared some opinions. Blake. I'm Blakely on your PLO table. Hey, Blakely. And Anders. So unlucky to river top sets. Which hand was that? I don't know if I'm gonna find it. I'm not gonna find it quickly. Sorry, I'm too far behind. Any timeline on Bet Rivers coming to Canada? None that I. The answer is no. That's the short answer. And I, I don't know why I get when it was Runner One's Poker, I just said whatever I wanted. It was my company. But Bet Rivers RSI is a big company, and as an official ambassador, I in some ways speak for the company. I try to speak for myself, but in some ways I speak for the company, and I don't know exactly the correct words there. The answer for now is no. Johnny asks for my top three least favorite people. I'm gonna pass on that. When I skimmed it, I thought you said favorite, which I was still gonna pass on because it's hard to. But I was gonna name a few that I liked, but I will pass. A the Great says, hi Phil and PLO. Hi, by the way. Six Max, do you have any donk range from the small blind or big blind? Should you have one, or is it player dependent? Yes and no. I think that most likely, so I would recommend you start by not having a donk range because I'm a huge believer in simplifying your strategy as much as possible. And even in the spots where you're supposed to have a donk range in theory and maybe even a sizable one, the EV loss of not having a donk range is minimal, almost negligible when you think about it in terms of all the mistakes you could make implementing a donk range, all of the extra bandwidth you need, all the time you need to study that you wouldn't need to study if you didn't have a donk range. So I would advise you not to have it. And then if you get to a very high level, if you're a professional making 100K plus a year, well now, and you're playing in relatively tough games, then maybe now you learn how to have a donk range in theory, and you learn which opponents you want to donk against. But I would advise you not to do it just for simplicity's sake. Mega Mink says, hi Phil, I'm very much considering joining BTG for 2025-26. I play full-time 2.5 NL in the EU up to 10-20 NL and 5.5 10-20 PLO in the USA. My goal is to increase in life and poker, health, poker theory. What do you think is his minimum bankroll to invest 8K into coaching? So it's 8K a year, or whatever that equates to a month, 667. But I mean it's a year. I would advise being conservative, and I think certainly the stakes you play are big enough to where if the program works as I intended to, and you're dedicated to it, you're going to increase your earn. And then along with that, increasing your physical health in ways that are well worth the investment for the stakes you're playing. Minimum bankroll. What I'll say is, I would say 100K. I mean, it's a little bit of a made up number, but that feels good to me where it's not, such a large portion of your bankroll that it's crushing. I will say we had somebody invest a third of their bankroll to join BTG last year, and I do not advise that. He's been a really great member of the community, and I think he's gotten a lot out of it. But I think it's very risky thing to do, and so I would not advise that. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with 100K. And then Kevin says I wouldn't look at it as ratio of bankroll to coaching costs. Coaching is always worth it because it provides increased future earnings. So as long as you don't go broke, it's worth it. Sort of, yeah, and I do kind of agree with that. But it does. I agree with that. However, there is also a level of financial pressure that can make you not get the most out of coaching, can make you not as open minded or stressed about it. And yeah, I don't want that to happen. But good thoughts. Phil, what are your thoughts on flow of WPT gold? Will it last? I really don't know. I feel like I thought that it would not be possible. Like years ago, I thought that it wouldn't be possible because there are other sites, site with that model, and I didn't think it had a lot of legs, but I was wrong. And so there's no idea. It could last a year, it could last 100 years or forever. I don't know. I don't have a. I realize I just like kind of sounded aggressive. I don't know. I don't know. I just have no idea. I probably didn't sound aggressive, but in my head I did. Ben said, "Good to see you." By the way, Ben said. Says, what is the reason that U.S. is cut off from global pool for most sites? Safety of deposits, or is it something else? I mean, it depends which sites you're talking about, but I mean, it's just it's kind of dumb. I mean, there are a lot of markets that are blocked off from others. I think that there are a lot of businesses that are willing to go into the other markets that are cut off, but not willing to in the U.S. because the U.S. is maybe more aggressive about protecting or upholding their regulations, especially if sites want to get legitimate and then offer regulated online play in the U.S. like we do at Bet Rivers against Pop Pot. I mean, this is a fold, and it looks weak, but it's supposed to be full. So yeah, I mean, the reasons that the governments decide that they want it to be this way, I don't think it's not one person deciding, and so it's kind of just um, politics which is a vague answer because it is a vague thing that is happening. Mr. Dorson says better is poker available in Vegas. It is not, just Pennsylvania, Michigan, Delaware, and West Virginia, and we are on our way to New Jersey next, hopefully. Called through it here with King 10 suited, flop middle pair. This player's been opening to 8, which is non-standard. I'm going to treat them as a non-pro, but I don't have a lot in the way of reads otherwise. I've been paying attention. I've been talking to Evo, which I prefer to do. I'm gonna call. I'm gonna call once again, and I don't have a great reason for it. I think probably it's supposed to be a fold. I think I check and win. If you knew an opponent really well, you could small bet here and potentially get value, but you have to know them really, really well. Friday 13, this is how old are you, fell in 40. Exactly. Not exactly. I'm 40 and a half. Maybank says, I can afford it. I can easily afford it, really. I just saw it today on Phil's Instagram, and 10% of players play 1-2, which amazed me. Yeah, I mean, 1-2 online is different than 1-2 live. But we do have, at least I can remember one player specifically who came in at 1-2 or 2-2 live. But also sometimes 1-2 or 2-2 live is different than it is online. It plays more like 2-5. Kyle No, there's not a timeline for Canada. I lost the Kevin E's question about BTG. I think I probably picked it up late. Ivan, sorry, Mike. Ivan asked if I enjoy streaming. Do I see myself streaming just for the sake of it without having to know anything? I do enjoy streaming somewhat, but it's too time intensive to do without. I mean, maybe if there were high stakes games or like sometimes if I'm playing like let's say an online tournament that I actually want to be playing anyway, it can be fun to stream and because I'm just there sitting there anyway for 10 hours. But otherwise it's a big time commitment to do without a desire for some kind of promotional aim, whether sometimes there won't be any promotion during the stream at all, but just the idea of continuing to build a following, creating content um, with the eventual goal of doing something with the viewership. Did I bring my fancy mouse with you? I actually bought a. I mean, it's not that fancy, but I like the sideways ergonomic mouse. I have bad wrists after all my years of poker. I think this is too thin to get two streets with 7 high flush three-way, so I'm just going to wait for the river and probably just small bet the river. And actually now facing this bet, so weird sizing over here. 18, I'm going to fold, I guess. I'm just going to fold the 7 high flush. I don't beat value. I don't have outs to improve against value. And if this seems like a crazy fold to you, I think that's an indication that you have a misunderstanding of how well the game works. I would say, like in theory, that might be close, but in practice, if you don't beat value and you don't think somebody's bluffing enough, and you don't have outs to improve against value, you're really trivially easy fold. Abraham, thanks for the kind words. Do I ever pass up on marginal spots against good rates to wait for better spots against whales? Assuming a good amount of volume of available games. In cash games, no, but in tournaments, yes, for sure. And if it's cash games where I'm playing under rolled, then yeah. Brad, I'm glad you appreciated the discipline discussion. Raul, thank you for the kind words. Somehow I scrolled up too far. I'm seeing questions I saw before now. RD, you're very welcome. Thank you. The G-Bucks article is quite the throwback. Kevin E says, if I join Beyond the Game, do I need to be playing a specific game only? I like playing all formats of cash. No limit PLO mix, and best to just do one game or keep the variety. It does not matter at all. I might encourage you in the program to specialize, but it has nothing to do with your eligibility for Beyond the Game or taking it at the same time as Beyond the Game. That's just advice that I tend to give to most people, but not all people. It really depends on you and why you like to play a lot of games and what your goals are. But no, it doesn't matter what game you play. Julia, I guess I do partially agree. Julie is saying it's not completely true that voting with wallets is the only way to make a change in regards to revise and reentries. Player voices like yourself matter, or if they'd stay open to the max. Hence, places like Aria or Win stay ahead of the game to close after just 8 levels, average 20 big blinds. It matters a little bit, yeah. I think in the long run, it kind of. I think what tends to happen is that when operators take the approach of doing the right thing or trying to do the right thing. By the way, in like 10 minutes, if I remember to, I'm gonna switch up my tables, just so there are some people. Frankly, it's partially to give other people a chance to play with me, but also so that these pools don't stop growing. I want more people to sit, and so I know some of you want to play with me, and so I want to give you the opportunity to. So I'll hop around a little. I think as operators, there's if you do the thing that players want, you tend to get a little bit of interest about it and a little bit of discussion about it. But in the long run, in my experience, tends to not do very much. And so the incentives that sites have to do it are fairly limited. And a lot of sites. So going back to the days of PokerStars, pre-Amaya PokerStars, and like really pre-Black Friday in a way, they Isai Scheinberg ran PokerStars and did a lot of things that were good for poker players that were not in the best interest of the business. And you could certainly argue that over time, because he kept doing those things, it was beneficial to the business. I think probably not. I think probably, certainly I know that the people who worked for him respected him a lot, or a lot of them did, because of the way that he was and his beliefs around poker. But I think PokerStars could have been even bigger if, or at least financially more successful, if he did more of the things that were good for them as a business, as opposed to what's best for the players. And he just loved poker and did what he thought was right. But most businesses operate to maximize their bottom line. And I think that players tend to, it's the way they act. And yes, some players seek sites with lower rake, or some sites are trying to give away all the rake. But many don't do it unless they think it's best for them. They don't do it in order to create momentum around a cause. And I have no bitterness about that, to be clear. But it is what I experience. What I've experienced, and I kind of had a lot of years with it. Favorite players I was going to mention. Honestly, I forgot, and I don't want to. I'm still trying to catch up a little bit, but I keep the questions coming. Hey, Phil, do you have a pulse on where the legality of online poker is headed in the U.S.? A little bit, but no, I don't know much better than you right now. The overpair, the bottom pair, and the featured blockers. This is just like a good betting hand on the flop. And is it for value? Is it a bluff? I don't know. It's a little bit of both. Now with the two pair, it gets a little bit weird. I think I'm going to bet again. I guess my hand quality didn't change that much, but it did change a little. I'm beating kings now. And it's less likely that somebody turned two pair than if it was a random, like a four. Friday, is there any plan on new courses for Run It Once? Pads one is top class. Yeah, Pads' course is really, really, really good and is really popular. I just finished recording a course, actually. It was my third course ever. And I don't know when it'll be available, but it's about, it's for every game, and it's about studying with solvers and how to do it the way that I do it, which is with less time, less discipline, less work than most of my opponents. And I think with more success. which sounds too good to be true, and maybe in some ways it is, but it's what worked for me. I mean, it's what works for me. So I threw at this flop is an interesting one. I'm going to check. Sixes, I'm going to fold to the raise and three bet. Obviously not folding the flop on ace deuce three. You tend to get people playing very straightforward on this flop, like as if you have aces. And so usually this is a flush. But I'll start with a call, and then what's interesting on the turn is like I feel like they don't bluff enough on the turn. Now that we turn the three, I think I need to start betting. Okay. BB asks, I want to switch from Omaha to Omaha from Oldham. Is GTO perfect preflop enough for the start? It's just talking about studying solvers. I don't think that it depends. Sorry. Yeah, you can start learning at stakes that are not going to crush you, whether it's GTO perfect preflop or not. I don't think it's critical to get perfect on any street, but preflop is the one where I try to get closer than other streets. But having a good understanding of just like, I think it's more useful to have general understandings of how the game works, like watching training videos of people playing and talking through why they're doing what they're doing, rather than going through each node. Like this is going to take a really long time to build up the understanding of the full game tree. So sure, some pre-flop, but then some concept of what's going on, whether it's watching streams like this or training videos all at once. Ideally. ASG says, by the way, I would love to see Farah on here sometime, both to answer questions about her as well as you two as a poker couple. She doesn't like. I mean, she gets uncomfortable. I should say, not doesn't like it. She gets uncomfortable being on. I think it's a combination of technology and live discussion. I think I've brought her on a stream once, maybe. But yeah, I don't think we'll convince her. Just have to fold this. I mean, basically, I just have king high flush draw, and that's all I have. I know that it looks like I have more than that, but three players behind me, one betting half pot. It's just not looking good. Here we face a check raise. I wish I could remember some of the hands that were played. I mean, I'm not going to check, so that means I'm going to bet. Switch to a different PLO. And another no limit. Small bit here, I think, is too thin. Would be. Moonlight says, while talking about BTG, what is your estimate of how much time people spend on the program on average per week? If you can / want to share. So all right, so the action, let me start that over. The action here was I raised the small blind, I got three bet, I check called third pot on the flop. I'm now about to check, probably call 2/3, although jamming is kind of interesting here as a bluff. Because I actually, like, bluff's a weird word for it. but I think I'm up against a lot of hands worse than mine that have a lot of equity. I guess he's not really bet folding good hands. I guess he'll bet call some like wraps plus flush draw that I'm doing well against. And now this is not thrilling. Probably lose. I'm hoping for, 10, 9, 8, 7. I'm hoping for King, Jack, 10, 8. I think probably we see like queens, but I want to see it. Ace, queen. All right. So loose aggressive, loose seal. It's easy to remember. Loose seal. Good bluff though, and I think my hesitance. I mean, my hand's a bluff catcher. It's not the worst, not the best. Having 2 10s is not good. My hesitancy is, I think, most people struggle to bluff enough in this spot because their 3-bet range contains too much showdown value, and they don't bluff with the queen or they don't bluff with kings. And so, what am I hoping I have? So I don't know. It might have been a bad call against an unknown, but I've seen a lot of erratic play so far on bet rivers. So I'm just, I don't know, calling. So Moonlight Master asks, while talking about BGG, what is your estimate of how much time people spend on the program on average per week? Can/want to share. So we do interesting. We do a 90-minute call every week that I lead. It's kind of, I would call the core part of the program. But in addition to that, this year we'll have 2, other than the first month. So for 11 months, we'll have 2 bonus calls every week with, well, long story. And so there's the potential to spend 3.5 hours just on calls, or really 4 hours, because the 90-minute call can sometimes go long. And then there is, I don't like the word, but there's some homework. There's some work to do away from the calls. It is mostly, in the first year, is mostly optional. Now I'm being more selective about it because people really want it, and they have said that they want me to follow up on things that I've taught, because they're like, a very common feedback that I've gotten is, hey, so I love when we covered this lesson, but then I felt like it took me some time to get it fully, and then we never talked about it again. And so there's now, I've designed it to now be a lot more cohesive as we start the second year of going from this lesson to the next call, where we have some homework assigned to some things to do away. And it's not like you're not doing hours and hours of homework, certainly, except in the first couple weeks only. But and then we talk about it again. We kind of revisit the lesson. We do more Q&A, whereas last time it's hard to explain succinctly. But I would guess that somebody who's dedicated and who's getting the like maximum out of it could be spending as much as 10 hours on the calls, doing the work, taking advantage of the extra resources, watching replays, in the Discord community, talking with their individual team, and talking with people on strategy and individual games, and so on and so forth. And actually, they could spend more because there's an element of the program that is kind of like making for small peer groups, which I think is potentially the most valuable thing you can have is like this very small peer group that you study with closely. It's a really hard thing to find. And I don't think that, for everybody who's interested in it, maybe 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 of them will match with people that like they'll really click with and really stick with working with. But for those, so it's not the majority of the people that I expect it to like really work out for in that one small element, which is a new addition to the program. But for those that it works, I think that's going to be the most valuable part of the program potentially, because I believe finding that peer group is as critical to success as anything that I've experienced in my career. But you could also spend as little as 90 minutes a week on average. I would say. And it's not like this is important for me at least, as somebody who, like, if I were a member, it's not an unpleasant 90 minutes. It's not like you're, well, going to history class, which for me is very unpleasant. Maybe for you like that, but it's not unpleasant and boring. It's actually enjoyable, uh, an enjoyable 90 minutes or a couple hours that you spend for most people. Okay. Hi Phil, do you think we should change player of the year in WSOP? Do you think Sean Deeb or Michael Mizrachi should have won it? I mean, I think the rules were set up beforehand, and Sean Deeb won it, so Sean Deeb should have won it. And I don't think that that any set of rules are inherently like clearly bad or good. The rules are what the rules are. We all agree. We don't all agree, but the rules are stated, so everybody knows the game that's being played. And I think that whoever wins, basically, you can't change the rules of a game. Like if you were playing poker and you had top set, flop is ace 9-4, and you get all your money in, and then they say, oh, by the way, we're going to actually make this hand low ball, and the worst hand wins. It's not really fair. So you got to play the game that is detailed. And so I don't. Looks like we have the same player at this new table, probably. Who's opening to 8. But yeah, I think whoever wins based on the rules wins. Steve Bet Rivers is in Pennsylvania, Delaware, Michigan, and West Virginia. I forgot which one I didn't say. Oliver asks how I get over the fear of moving up in stakes. He says, I'm a very winning player. My current stakes, but moving up to 200 now is just scary. I'm rolled for it, but I don't know. Any advice? Great question. Great job admitting that you are feeling scared. That's a big part of it. I think the unfortunate reality is it's going to feel scary kind of no matter what you do. So there are little hacks that you could try, and I had this conversation yesterday on stream. I don't know, I always feel the need to say that, but some sites will allow for you to switch to big blind mode, like we do here on Bet Rivers. And if you do that and you get used to the stakes you're playing in big blind mode, and you just raise the stakes and it still looks the same on the table in terms of the amounts in the pot, I think that is impactful. You could also start by, if you're a proven winner and you have some poker friends, I talked about the value of this crew. If you could start by selling action and actually making the stakes the same for you. So if you could start by, let's say you have 2 friends, you sell each of them a quarter of your action, and now you're still playing 100 NL, but it's at the higher stakes. Yes, this is lower EV for you because it'd be higher EV for you to stay at 100 NL than to play twice, like play the same stakes in tougher games. But it gets you comfortable with the game and your confidence level at the table on those tables at stakes that, like, you're not facing the fear of the stakes and the player pool and the difference all at the same time. So kind of getting used to one before you get used to the actual financial stakes, I think would help. But the reality is, and I think the way I put it yesterday was, you're not going to get good at lifting heavier weights without lifting heavier weights. So some of it is just doing it and experiencing it, and getting used to what it feels like in your body, or in this case more your mind, which kind of is your body, getting used to it. It's a pretty good hand to bluff with. So let's do it. If I could snap out a feature of the Bet Rivers client today, what would it be? That's a good question. This player's been loose. I'm going to 3-bet. Interesting one here with ace 7. I'm going to check. I'm not pushing that much equity against a calling range, and I have some kind of deceptive hand when I check back. snap ad as a feature. Do I want to raise this 7? I only lose to ace ace and slow play king king, which I think are unlikely. Maybe this is too thin because you run into ace ace a lot. But I'm going to go for it. Feature that snap ad. This is not so much a feature, but I would love the ability to just quickly make any game that I wanted to make. So we want to add 5-card PLO, okay, add it. And like you can build games in a way such that's well, in theory, I think you can build it in such a way that's not that hard. If like we wanted to add Squid Game, then just add it. I think that would be the best thing to have, is the ability to just add things. Now, in practice, in smaller player pools, in regulated environments where there's not that much liquidity, splitting games and having a bunch of smaller niche games is maybe not the actual right decision. But just as a player, I think that'd be really fun. Let's fold this. Phil, do you see the online market getting condensed? Fewer sites anytime soon? No, I don't. Not soon. Once you turn 44, will you attempt to make him as Rocky Run? I don't think so, no. Not. If you haven't heard me say it yet, I'm not a big tournament player. Friday Acid is BTG, which is Beyond the Game. For MTT or PLO, it's for everything. It's for no limit hold'em cash. It's for MTTs, for PLO. It's for PLO 5. It's for PLO 6. It's for mixed games. It's not about the on the table strategy, though. You will meet people who play the games, of course, and you might want to talk about the on the table strategy. That's not what I teach. Steve, that I asked because Workada Online has very little traffic, so if a couple sites have little traffic, why not just condense them into one site? Yeah, I mean, they would be more successful, like as a whole, if they were all one site, because liquidity begets liquidity. More games create more games. More players create more players. But it's just, I don't see it working that way. If somebody wanted to like have all of them on the same network, that would be kind of interesting. But I don't see business-wise how that's going to happen. And I think there are other sites. I mean, there are online casinos and sportsbooks that don't have poker yet that I think might add it. Phil, what happened? Are you broke? Not. What happened? I don't know. Oliver, how would PLO change if there's no limit? There is no limit Omaha, and I've only played it a couple times, like in tournaments, and it feels bad, but I haven't really studied it, to be honest. EKW is actually, I didn't see this yet, but it's talking about how in the perfect world, every state would have a single pool, and Bet Rivers, WSOP, etc. PokerStars would all be skins, because states are too small to split between 4 sites, in his opinion. And I kind of agree. I mean, if there were twice as many states, it wouldn't be too small. But as it is kind of unfortunate to split between sites. That said, for tournaments especially, you don't totally need to split. I mean, you kind of do, but also some people just play the big tournaments across all the sites. Speaking of which, sometime in the next couple minutes across there, there'll be a banner for the multi-state tournament series, which is running from August 1st to 10th on Bet Rivers Poker. So check that out if you are in Michigan, Delaware, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, or are nearby and can hop a quick ride to one of those states to post up for a tournament series. There it is, 200K guaranteed across 4 states. And it is our first online series like that. We're excited about it. I'm excited to see it really kick off and see if we can hit some of these guarantees. Surely we'll miss some, I would think, and you get some nice overlay. I say that as me, not as the site. I can't guarantee any overlay. Um, Indiana asked if I have any crazy degen stories from back in the day that you maybe regret or feel embarrassed about. Um, Nothing too crazy. I remember when I was 21, I went to Tunica, Mississippi. I like just turned 21 and I wanted to play. I played a WSOP circuit event and a WPT event. They were both 10K buy-ins, and I had like a 110K bankroll, something like that. So it was a lot to put into tournaments, but that's not the degen part. The degen part is I busted out the first one. The second one I min cast, but I was so close. It was a small field, so I was like there were maybe 18 or 16 players left, and I really wanted to make the televised final table. That was my dream at the time. It was like to win on a big stage, and I was really tilted, and so I went and played blackjack, and I think I won like 25K. So it was a profitable trip, despite I mean, I broke even before the blackjack. And I've had some. Early in my career, I liked blackjack until poker kind of beat it out of me. Uh, but most of my real degen moments were at the poker table, where I lost half my roll, which happened twice in a single day. Not twice in the same day. Twice did I lose my half of my roll in a single day. Once when my roll was 100K, and once when my roll was 800K. And then I finally learned my lesson. I didn't do that again. We'll go ahead and raise ace-5. John Smith asks, my master says, lazy solver studies with Phil Galfond. That'd be a fun name for the course. John Smith says, how do you recommend calculating a coach's ROI? Playing at mid-stakes, looking to move up with enough XP knowledge that the coaches I'm looking at are very expensive. Not sure if it's profitable. Usually a coach is going to be, if they're a good coach, it's going to be well worth it if you're planning to play for a while, because it, compounds. But so the main thing I would be measuring would be, how serious are you about poker? If you know that you're going to be in poker for a while and you play relatively high volume, then you could be pretty confident that any poker coach that is good is going to be worth it for you. And that's kind of the knowledge that only you have, that your coach doesn't have. Coaches are pricing, like in an ideal world, and I do this if I take on like a one-on-one student, which I have only done 4 times in my life. I try to calculate. I want to make sure that my contribution to them is going to be more than they're paying me, and they're going to get a very positive ROI on it. But if I just have a rate that's posted somewhere, it can't be based on what somebody's going to get out of it, because everybody's different. All it can
Wait,
be
what?
based on
$28? Oh, wait.
To trade my time.
Still not.
In terms of money.
I need to get to like close to 40.
They can't guarantee that you're going to get. They can't. They're not telling you that they think the price is worth it for you. They're saying that the price is worth it for them, what they're willing to spare their time for and their expertise for. And the knowledge that you have, that only you have, is, like, how well am I going to learn? How hard am I going to try? And how long am I going to take this edge and apply it? And if you're going to play for a while, if you're serious about poker, I think it's very likely to be worth it, and well worth it. EKW beating the drum. I'm glad we have 288 viewers, and 75 likes is not bad, but EKW would like more. He asked for it. Kevin says, can you describe the community of BTG? My biggest growth phase in poker came when I was working with other players on common goals. Yeah, first of all, my biggest growth phases for sure have come working with other players. I can look back at all the periods in my career when I was working by myself, and they were very stagnant. And when I was working with other people, it was night and day, basically across the board. But describe the community. I'm finding that really hard, because it's a big question. But I would say it's a community of people who are dedicated to improving and helping each other, and not necessarily in a, here's how to study your opponent, or here's how to build a top check raise range. But and this term is, I don't like this term for it, but it's the term that's coming to mind. It's like more like a support group, like people who have your back. And it's a very prideful community. Like people are really proud to be a part of BTG, which makes me really proud. And I can tell that, especially this last summer. If you were playing WSOP, especially higher buying events, you probably saw a lot of people wearing a BTG hat or a BTG shirt. I don't have one on. I have a Run shirt on. But you probably saw the logo. Just that logo. And that is because they're excited to be a part of it and proud to be a part of it. At least many of them. And I'm thankful for that. Johnny, were you the one that said this before? Can I buy coaching from you on how to sit on the fence and avoid questions? I don't think I'm avoiding questions. I think I answer very honest, like too honestly, to be honest. But the real answer to a lot of questions is it depends. I do avoid ones that, like, I specifically avoided when somebody said who are your three least favorite, trying to deceptively dodge questions. I'll let you know when I don't want to answer. Steve asks, Phil, why no solver type stuff for 7-card stud? It's because there are people who have some solver tools for 7-card stud, but I think they can only do heads up or maybe 3-handed with a lot of abstractions because the game is so big. So if you think about Hold'em, the community information is 0 cards pre-flop, and then it's 3 cards on the flop, 1 extra on the turn, 1 on the river. Whereas with stud, let's say it's 6-handed, you automatically have 6 up cards, which is already more than is going to show up in all of Hold'em. But you also have, for each of those 6 up cards, it can be any of the 52 in the deck minus the others that show up. And so the number of different board configurations and like the order of the cards on the flop don't matter. But the order of these cards, the setup cards, matter a lot. And then not only that, after 3rd Street, there's 4th Street, and everybody gets another card. And after that, everybody gets another card. And so the game tree is massive. It's just massively, massively huge. And so kind of a similar way to think about it would be like, actually, that's not even similar. What I was going to say is if you start with, like, on 3rd Street with a 4 versus a 7 and just solve that, like, that's its own game. 1-4 and 1-7. That's already a huge game because on top of that, 4 and 7 can be a whole bunch of other things that can play out. But then again, for a 3 and a 7, you have to do it all over again. And I think I'm not explaining it super well. It's just a massive game. Computers can't handle it yet. Ivan says it was a bit painful to recognize myself in your monologue about people that are attracted to poker. On the other hand, note, I'm me. Yeah. She said, did creating your own site make you a NIT 2635 is a razor in the real world? No, it's not. 2365 in PLO is not a good hand. Kevin, are you a plant to help me promote Beyond the Game? Kevin says, Phil, I want to hear you brag. Name some of the biggest accomplishments from your first year BTG had. I posted yesterday, I think, I guess, testimonial from one of our members who I know pretty well. And he moved from 5'10", to, I mean, regularly playing 5,100 with shots as high as 500, 1K, but like also playing a lot of 100, 200, some 200, 400. And so that is obviously a massive jump. And he also said that that was not the biggest thing he got out of BTG. Or I don't know if he put it in those words, but he also got so much more out of it than just his advancement in the game. And so him individually, I think that's a success story that stands out to me. I know him well; he's a really good dude, and it is really fun to see him have that success. As a, I mean, the biggest accomplishments for the program, I don't know. I think that the program, like we when we launched it, we had 88 people sign up, which was more than I expected the first month. But then it didn't grow as much as I thought beyond that. And right now we're closing applications in 5 days, I think. But and then we're not going to allow any other applications this year, or at least they'd be put on a wait list. But last year that was not the case. Last year we continued to take people in, and just didn't grow as much as I thought it was going to. Probably because I hate to market, and but I'm happy about our decision this year to stop after this for a while and just focus on the program, because marketing is such a distraction. Even if I'm not out here doing marketing, just the team is doing it. Like I have to approve things and we discuss things, and it's just like right now it's a big distraction. I just want to do the coaching. That's the part that I love. Gonna have to fold 9/8, unfortunately. Joshua is playing with me and can see my cards. Good luck. Nice hand, Napa. Semper says, hi Phil, I love that you take the time to do this, and also love the VIP shirt. Oh, not the one that we're giving away. Nice. This is freaking hilarious. Without any chance that I can buy it, I can't play on the site from Europe. I think we're not letting people buy it. I really like it too. And actually, it's funny because the very important fills thing is so something that I would have come up with, but the team came up with it entirely without me, unbeknownst to me. That was a very proud moment where, not like I'm the only one capable of coming up with something good, but it was just very, very me. It was very in my, like, that's something that exactly that I would come up with. And the team knows me well, and also it's very similar to me, I guess, in some ways. I was excited about that. Is that Minnow? The cat. How important is age in getting good at poker? In games like chess or esports, age is often a big factor. Is it the same in poker? Can someone starting at 30 still realistically reach a high stakes level? I think the answer is yes, but we also don't have a lot of examples. Like, we don't have examples of 6-year-olds starting playing poker for money. And, with chess and esports, it's not just like the people who started at 18 that rise to the top. It's like the people who start at 4. And so we don't really know in poker. I would imagine yes, in that way, that training a player at 4 would be the way to do it. But how do you do that? And actually, you can do it in chess. You could do it in poker without money, like with play money, and make them care about it in the same way they do about chess. So I would suspect that it would make a big difference. But right now, your competition is learning at 18 or 25 or 20. Like, you're fine learning at 30. Hi, my hat says Beyond the Game, which is, where does it start here? Which is, you've heard me talk about BTG. It's my coaching program for mid to high stakes poker players and nosebleed poker players, for that matter. Both anyone who's serious, so it could be pro, it could be semi-pro, it could be recreational. And we focus on, just head to joinbtg.com and it explains it better than I can off the cuff. Chief Chu says, how come you don't make plays? GTO is not playing. I don't agree with either of those. Well, the first one's a question, the second one's a statement. I do make plays, and GTO is playing. I agree. I don't like to play GTO, but I like to use that as a base and then make plays from there. That's the way that I would say.
I'm close. I'm $2 away.
Tough T Art says thanks for the videos about poker mentality. Has helped a lot. Awesome.
All right, I'm gonna mute Galfond here because I'm almost done. So I finished with $13, about 12, 13. So plus 25. Close. Almost done. An hour and a half. I wish there was a way I could go on Holy Manager and just start a new session. Maybe there is, and I don't know about it. I'm gonna look. That way the graph starts from 0 and not from... It always starts a new one when you haven't played for a while. I don't know how long. Maybe like an hour, I'm guessing. Maybe I should test that out. I can probably test that out. Oh, this is a really good hand. I should just go all in here probably. 40 big blinds, 20. Should I just go all in here? Or call and then go all in? Maybe like... What's the... Well, I have a flush. Alright, I'm done. Alright, I'm going to sit out next big blind. Hopefully I don't lose between then and now. 3-bet. Jack 10. And honestly, I think I will end up having just a delay. Oh. Eight, Jack 10. Another 10, I'll take that. He's aggressive, my bet himself, actually. Trying to bluff or have it. And just in case, let's go like this, maybe. I don't know how much. Maybe it's just lets me beat. I just don't believe that. Wasn't enough. Couple hands left. B4. All right, this time I think I'll be back at 6. So about an hour from now. And I'm going to take a short stroll outside. I'm going to just like deuce 3 of clubs. 5-8. Uh-oh, that's not good. Nope. I mean, worth a try, I guess. So luckily, I was able to get it all back, plus some. $44 And let me check here at my third last session. No, it was no. So 1 cent, 2 cent, $8, and then I started the session around 255 hands. So what's that? 1,500 hands. All right, well, I'm gonna try to figure out if there's a way to start a new session instead of it, because I was back in less than 30 minutes. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you win if you're playing poker, get lucky, get better. Take care. I'll see you next time. I'm going to be back in around 51 minutes from now at 6 p.m. Going to play 10 cent, 25 cent. This time I think I'll have a delay. Yeah, I think I'll, should I just go for it? No delay? There's 5 viewers here right now. Out of these 118 players, 130 at 10 cent, 25 cent. So maybe I could do it as long as they're not gone in 50 minutes from now. 100. Okay, if it's over 120, I'll do no delay. And if it's under 120, I'll do a 5-minute delay. 15 minutes from now. Thank you for watching. Take care. Goodbye.